I'm Andrea. Oh, I'm Andrea Kimura, and I'm the staff advisor to Mizzou too. And as we know, Jessica and her team have been doing this for a number of years. And I'm just in awe of how it keeps growing and growing. So many people. So I'm glad that you have joined us. And I'm going to be going over 4 chapters today. And if you have questions, you can put those in the chat. And I think, Jessica, you said you're going to be monitoring that. Okay, so she'll be monitoring that. And then know that you also have your booklets. I saw that Karis has given you the link to the driving booklet, so you have all the chapters and extra information. And what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to emphasize some specific information, ones that you particularly want to pay attention to. So with that, let's get started.
Well, especially if there are Britishisms that you're dealing with, because Merriam-Webster is mainly focused on American English. It's also
So overview, these are the 4 chapters that we're going to be covering today, chapters 8, 9, 10, and 11. You can see the titles here. Give you a moment to read that. And starting with chapter 8. So actually, I take that back. So if you could put into the chat function, I like to do this before we get started with our content today. I would like you to answer to me, what is one takeaway that you had from yesterday's class? Something that stuck with you. And I'm going to look into the chat as you all put this in there. What was one takeaway? What was a piece of information that you received yesterday that you're like, oh, that stuck with me? I'm really going to pay attention to that. Go ahead and put that in the chat function. It is kind of like a quiz. Learned how to parallel park. Directions, yes, the direction of tires. Which way they go when you're parking, if you're uphill or downhill. Yeah. Overtaking and line, yep. When it's a dotted line or when it's a solid line, right? Okay, lots of parking, yeah. Traffic signs, yep. Okay, what about road signs? Tell me a little more about the road signs. Pedestrians have the right of way even when the light is green. Ooh, you know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't know that. I thought pedestrians had to follow that too. So as a driver, I'm responsible for my safety and that of others on the road as well. Yeah, it's not just you in your car. Right. Yes. Love it. Wrong ways. Yep. The type of license. Right. Yes, because you can have a regular license, a motorcycle license, a chauffeur license. Blind spot. Yes. Yeah, because we have these blind spots on our vehicles, and some vehicles are equipped with blind spot indicators, like mine will beep at me, but some cars are not. Yeah. Good job. Nice. Nice, everyone. Excellent. Thank you. All right, so let's go back to here. All right, I got a question for you right off. I just jump in with all the questions. True or false? Your seat belts can be worn at the discretion of the driver, meaning it's up to you if you want to wear it or not. What do you think? True or false? False, false, false. Yep, false, false. Good. All right. Good. Thank you. Thank you, people. Wonderful. So, right, it's not up to your discretion. It's a law. We wear seatbelts. And there's a phrase they call click it, meaning like click it, click your seatbelt. They say click it or ticket. So they can give you a ticket if they want. Please, if they see you driving without a seatbelt, they can give you a ticket. And I promise I won't do this. I won't do questions throughout the whole thing. So that's the phrase, click it or ticket. And sometimes you might see, if you pull into the parking garages, you'll see somebody there with two people, one with a, what do you call it, like a notepad or something, a clipboard, and they're identifying how many people are wearing their seatbelts. And they aren't going to give you tickets, but it's just to like keep aware. So really good about making sure you wear your seatbelts. Seatbelts, it's a law, not only for you, the driver, but for your passengers, especially for you that have children. I know a fair number of you are parents. So if you have children, these are the criteria that you want to look at and understand. And there are a lot of places that you can get car seats. So there are organizations, the city health, or not, yeah, county, not city, county health department. Sometimes they have a program where they have car seats available. And not only will they give you the car seat, they'll also show you how to install it. They'll put it in for you. So be aware that there's a lot of resources, and our director and our department here in the Wellness Resource Center, Bonnie Hood, she actually is certified to show how to properly install those car seats, because if you have an infant, you face the child backwards. If you have a child, then they turn them forwards. And after a certain weight, they graduate to a different car seat. So be aware, it's not just the seatbelt for you, but it's also a seatbelt and a car seat for those that are with you, your children, or if they're not your children, if they're just in the car. So a lot of times I know when my kids were little, and if they had play dates, friends coming over, we'd pick up the friend and we'd be like, oh, do you have a car seat for me? Pick up the car seat too, and then bring it back. So next, talking about steering position. I got it's a little grainy, but the picture, it's showing hand positions up here, and they're like, wrong. What do you think is the reason this is wrong versus having it out here? How come you think that first hand position is incorrect? What do you think's going on there? Feel free, put it in the chat. Hard to balance? Okay. What else? I think it's hard to rotate. There we go. Right? Because if I'm here and I need to turn, right, that's a little more challenging. But if I slide my hands down to the side, and you can see there's like part of the steering wheel that's here, I can turn, I can put it here, right? Can't fully steer. But if I'm here, that's yeah, arms are really close. So thinking about how you have your arms, your hands for proper steering, it's going to make it a little more control. You want more control. So having it slide down. And then stopping. So I have a couple slides here. This is an area that I really want to emphasize with you. So the 3-second rule, you see the picture of the red car behind the blue car, and there's a little video. And then Jessica, will this PowerPoint be available to the students after?
Yes, we can have Carrie's share with everyone.
Okay. Because I'm thinking I don't want to waste the time. I will let them look at the video on their own. But it shows you about this safe distance. Now, sometimes, you say you're looking at the car and you're like, okay, I need to be able to see the car's bumper. That's when you're slow. But what you can do is count 3 seconds. So 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. That's how you count 3 seconds. So if there is a light post or a sign or a bush that they pass, the car in front of you passes. As soon as they pass that mark, start counting 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Then you pass. There's a good amount of space between you. That's a proper amount of space. Now, what may happen is somebody sees that space, another car, and they're like, ooh, I'm just gonna like scooch on in here. And you got to drop back more. And this is a safe distance, because if the car in front of you hits their brakes, you have enough time to hit your brakes, and that car's going to skid, and you'll have enough time that you won't hit them. You have enough space. So that is the purpose for having that space between you and the car in front of you. So if they hit their brakes, you have time, you can hit yours. And if you're traveling at a pretty fast speed, you can still like, but not hit them. Okay. So that is a 3-second rule. I'll make sure that I shared this PowerPoint with Karis. And then there's a YouTube video right here. You could watch it. It's pretty short, but it does a nice visual job of explaining it. Here's another visual, like if you see people, like, and I know for here at Mizzou, they got students crossing all the time. What is that stopping distance? If you notice, there's the car and it says hazard detected. And then there's time where you're still traveling forward. That's your reaction time. So even though you've visually seen it, that message from your brain has not traveled to your foot. So the reaction time is delayed, at least by a second. And then the braking begins then. When you're traveling at, when you're traveling at a fast speed, that reaction time, you travel much farther because that delayed reaction from the message going from your brain to your foot is delayed. So being aware, that's why the 3-second rule is valuable. And we'll also talk later in, I think it's chapter 11, the last section that we're going to go over today. I'll also talk about braking in different driving conditions. So whether it be rain or fog or ice or snow, all those. So we'll talk about braking in those situations as well a little bit later in this session. This is an example, and I think this is really, really important. I really like this visual because we kind of know what a football field is, right? We know a visual of how big a football field is. Now, if you look at the car, they're and the truck, they're both going 65 miles an hour. And then they see something in front of them and they hit their brakes to stop. And you notice the truck, the semi, takes more distance to stop. What do you think is the reason the semi takes longer to stop, even though they were going the same amount on the speed? Why does it take the truck longer? What's happening? Momentum? Yeah, but they're both going 65. Why? Weight, right? Yep, the mass of the truck. Yes. Right, the truck is heavier. Exactly, you got it. So thinking about that, knowing a lot of people, they mistakenly believe that the trucks can stop. And that's why trucks leave such a space, because they know cars are going to get in front of them and they have to leave that space. They cannot stop as easy as a car can. The car is lighter, so the car can stop quicker. So the truck, because it is heavier, it needs more time to stop. So when you're changing lanes, and think about, looking in front of you, looking behind you, when you're changing lanes, if you get in front of a truck, in front of a semi, you got to be aware, oh, that truck is carrying a lot of weight. He's not going to be able to stop quickly. If I get in front of a car, the car will stop a lot quicker. So being aware, you can see that's a huge difference. That's almost half a football field. Look how much more distance that truck needs. That is half a football field. So be aware of that, even though you're going the same speed. Questions about this so far, what we've gone over about braking, reaction time, understanding how long it takes to stop, understanding that different vehicles weigh different amounts. Nope. Okay. All right. Oh, I got it wrong. It's chapter 9, not 11. Chapter 9 for going over those safe driving conditions when we're braking. So there's a lot of conditions. You can see there's night driving, when we're driving with our headlights, winter driving, wet pavement, hydroplaning. Hydroplaning, for those of you who are not familiar with it, that is when your car, when it's raining and there's water on the road, that the tires don't sit on the road, that the tire actually kind of floats above and it just skims over the top of the water. That is hydroplaning. It's very dangerous because the wheel does not have any contact with the road. So even if you hit your brakes, it doesn't matter. You're just floating on the water. That is hydroplaning. And then last is anti-lock braking system. So for newer cars, they're going to have an anti-lock system. And I think it was like 1990s maybe is when they became more prevalent in vehicles. And what happens is when you hit the brake, they kind of go, it like comes up and down. So you don't get the solid braking. On the older models, you could hit the brake and the brake would stay down. So feeling that difference, so it's really important to know what kind of braking system the vehicle that you're driving has so that you're aware of it and you feel comfortable with it. So I know for me, I grew up on a car that didn't have the anti-lock braking system, but my current car does. And I'll be driving it and I'll forget and I'll be like, oh, whoa, oh, what's going on? So one of the ways too that you can cope with the anti-lock braking system is you can tap the brake. So instead of just hitting the brake, you can press, let up, press, let up to slow your vehicle down as opposed to just solid pressing. So I put a diagram in here because we get all the weather here in Missouri. We have dry, sunny roads. We have wet roads because we get a lot of rain. We get packed snow, and we also get ice storms. We get all 4 examples of the weather. Dry road, so imagine, as it said here, you're traveling 35 miles an hour down the road, and you go to hit the brakes. And it takes between 60 and 100 feet for your car to stop when you hit the brakes, going 35 miles an hour. Now, if you add weather in, if you add a wet road, it now takes almost twice as much, 120 feet or more, just because of the wheel being able to have contact with the ground, right? Because you don't want that hydroplaning, but you want the wheel to have contact with the ground. When you have packed snow, so that means you're driving on the snow. When you have packed snow, you can see it takes 3 times as long. From the original 60 feet, it now takes 180 feet or more. And then when you add ice, which does happen here in Missouri, we do have ice, that takes almost 10 times as long for your vehicle to stop. And this is where, when talking about the anti-lock braking system, when using the icy or using the brakes in your vehicle on an icy road, this is where you want to tap the brakes. You don't want to just hit, but you want to slow yourself down. Tap the brake, tap the brake, tap the brake. And the same with the packed snow and even with the wet road. So at each time you can see the more severe the weather, the longer it takes. Questions that you have about this? Yeah. Okay, let me know if some questions come up, Jessica. So the other driving conditions, because this is more about weather, and of course, oh, and I didn't touch upon it, night driving and headlights. making sure that, of course, nighttime, you have your headlights on. And a lot of laws in the states now that at
I'm
sunset,
sorry, can you wait a second?
wait for what? Oh, okay. So when you're driving at night, when there's sunset or sunrise, you want to put your lights on. So you don't wait till nighttime, but you go ahead and put those on when the sun sets or the sun rises. You want to make sure, because that dusk area, it's very difficult to see cars coming towards you. I don't know if you've ever driven when the sun is setting or the sun is rising. And when you have your headlights on, it's a lot easier for people to see you and for you to see them. So making sure that you have your headlights on. And then when you're nighttime driving, if you have what are called brights, you can have the low lights just regularly, they go out on the pavement in front of you, but at nighttime driving, you can have brights where they turn up. They're different angle. So you can have those when you're driving, but the exception is if there's a car coming towards you, you want to turn your brights off so that they go back down to the pavement. Because if the brights are up, then you take the chance that you might interfere with the other driver's ability to see well. So if you're on an empty road, you can have your brights on, but as soon as another car comes towards you, have your brights go down.
We have a question.
Okay.
Could you please explain about foggy weather driving?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. We do not get that a lot here. We usually get it in the morning. But foggy weather, that makes it very hard to see. And what do you think is the best way, the best action you could take when you're driving in foggy weather? What can you do as the driver? Low beam, lights on. So yeah, definitely be able to stop within the region of visibility, headlights. Yes. Okay. Have your lights on. You all are so smart. I'm just so impressed. Less speed, slow speed. Yes. So you really can't, doesn't matter if you put your low lights on or your brights on. Sometimes when you put your brights on, it actually makes it worse because then it looks like you're driving in a cloud. So just have your regular lights on, not your brights. And then really the only thing you can do is go according to the speed of your visibility. So you have to slow down. There's no other way with driving in fog. You just drive slower. Now, it's not going to affect your braking, but your ability to see something, that's going to be affected. So you all are smart cookies. I love it. Just limit your speed, slow down, and just leave it to the range of your visibility. And you may find a lot of times in Missouri where there's water, in the mornings, you know, you're like up on a hill and then you go down and you're like, oh, there's like a cloud down here because that temperature is combining with the temperature coming off the water and it kind of creates a cloud or creates fog. And so when you're driving down, you're driving into the fog. And then when you come up out of that area, then it's like you leave the fog behind. So it's very common if you're driving near water. So just be aware of that and just slow your speed down when driving in the fog. And then as you get up, you can pick back up. Good question and good answers too. All right, next. This is talking about skidding, steering into the skid. This is scary. It is very scary. I mean, like, close a window there. There. So one of the things you want to think about, if you find yourself skidding due to water or ice or snow or potentially, you know, just going too fast, like you start floating, skidding. One of the things you do not want to do is hit your brakes. And you're like, what? Wait, I'm skidding. Wouldn't I want to hit my brakes? I know. It feels natural because you want to slow down. But hitting your brakes actually makes the skidding worse. So what you want to do is just take your foot off the gas. That's all you got to do, because it'll slow the car down. You just take your foot off the gas, so you're not giving the engine any forward momentum. You're not hitting the brake. And then think about this. It's sometimes it's easier to practice in a parking lot when there is snow. But think about, you turn into the curve or turn into the skid. So if the car's sliding like this, then I'm going to turn into the skid. Or if the car's skidding like this, then I turn into the skid, because what it does is it rights the car back. You don't hit the brakes, because if you hit the brakes, it just makes you fishtail out. It's called fishtailing. It makes the end of your car whip out. And sometimes, depending upon your speed, you may even turn around a whole circle. Super scary. And that's not something you want to do either. So it's super natural to want to hit the brakes, but it's not what you want to do intuitively. You really have to override that thought, and you want to turn gently. If you find yourself skidding this way, turn gently into the skid. And again, take your foot off the gas. Don't hit the brake. Just keep your feet off both. And it's just, I want to say practice. I mean, hopefully you don't have to practice. But like I said, one of the easiest ways is when snow comes, maybe just go to a parking lot with snow and you could try it. Try it that way. Other special conditions. So one of you was a mind reader. You asked about fog. So that's in weather. But then all the rest, you can see those are all vehicle. Excuse me, my nose itches. The others are all vehicle conditions. So one of the things that I would like to emphasize is, what do I do when an emergency vehicle comes? Right? So I don't know if you can tell, but the blue car was in the middle lane. They were in that middle lane over to the left there. And then an emergency vehicle with its lights and siren comes up behind you. And so if you're driving, you're thinking, do I stay here in my lane? Do I get over? Do they go around me? What do I do? You always, always pull over to the right side of the road, stop. Always pull over to the right. You get out of the way. So even if you're in the left lane and they're coming up behind you, you just pull over all the way over to the right, and then they can go by. They know that you're going to pull over to the right. So always do that. Now, if there's two lanes and you're like, okay, should I pull over this way? Like, because why would I cross over? Should I pull to the middle? No, don't pull to the middle. Why? Because you have traffic coming the other direction. So that's why you don't want to pull to the middle. Traffic coming the other direction, they're going to see you pulling over and they're like, oh my gosh, where's this person coming from? What are we doing? So you always just pull over to the right. It's always the safest way to go. And then park, or not park, but pause, put your foot on the brake, and then let the vehicle go by. And then when you're ready, put your left blinker back on to get back into the flow of traffic. Questions you have about that? Because I know there might be some questions about this. Well, and I actually just thought of one, if you're thinking of one. What do I do if I'm in the turn lane, Andrea? What if I'm in the left turn lane? I'm in the turn lane, I'm waiting for my light, and I hear the firefighter truck, the ambulance, whatever, coming behind me. Do I stay in my turn lane? Do I get out of the way? What do I do? Oftentimes what they say, just stay right there. You're in the turn lane, right? You got to stay right there, because if traffic is coming the other direction, they're going to stop. You stay in your turn lane, and let them go around you. So that is an exception. With that one, you don't want to like go all the way across. If you're in the turn lane, getting ready to turn left, then just stay right there and let the firefighter trucks and the ambulances go around you. And if they're turning left, then you stay put, and then they're just going to turn left in front of you. And these cars coming the other direction, they'll stop for them, and then they'll continue on. Okay. All right. Other questions that you come up with besides me coming up with my own? All right.
Yeah, no questions yet.
Okay. So I put the additional special conditions. We're not going to talk about those because we have the other chapters to get to, but that is something I want you to read in your book and be like, what do I do? What do I do if there's vehicle emergencies? We just talked about that. What do I do if I have brake failure? What do I do if I have a tire blowout? I want you to read about each of these. And what I've done is I've just highlighting the things, the pieces that are most important. One thing that I do want to emphasize that's kind of the opposite. What do I do if there's a vehicle, an emergency vehicle over on the side, or sometimes like you see the police, they might have pulled somebody over, or if somebody's car is broken, maybe they have a tire blowout, or maybe their engine is overheating and they pulled over to the right side of the road, right? What do I do? If you see them pulled over to the right, you want to go the opposite direction. You want to go to the left. Reason being, because if they open their car door or if they're walking around their car, you want to give them space. You go into that left lane, and then after you pass them, you come back into the right lane if that's where you were. Okay. All right. Chapter 10. Wellness Resource Center. I feel like I could have any of my colleagues talk about this. So alcohol, driving, and drugs. I think some of the prime takeaways are that if you are male, you identify as male, or you identify as female, you are going to process alcohol differently. Now, the example they give here is a 170-pound male and a 130-pound woman. But here's what's interesting. Even if you were the same weight, you identify as male, born female, and you weigh the same, and you have the same number of drinks, the male will process the alcohol quicker. The female will have the alcohol in her system longer. And it's just biology. I don't have a reason. It's just biology. There is I believe it's a protein synthesizer that is in the male system that is more prevalent than it is in the female system. I believe my colleague Kathleen, she could have answered that. So, but just know that it's just biology. Women will have a higher BAC longer than men. So you have to think about that. If you're going out to dinner, you're gonna have a glass of wine, or you're going over to somebody's house for a dinner party, or you're going out with friends to have a drink, that if you are born female gender, you will have to be aware that you will process alcohol slower. Oh, what's BAC? Thank you for asking. BAC is blood alcohol content. So that's the measurement of alcohol that is mixed in with your blood. So if you've ever seen police and you've heard the term breathalyzer, and they have individuals pull over and they're like, here, I want you to blow into this, and like, and you blow out, it measures what is the alcohol of blood that is in your system. Another term is also called BAL, same thing, blood alcohol level. So measuring the level of alcohol that's in your blood. So BAC or BAL, blood alcohol content, blood alcohol level, same thing, just a different way of saying it. So the BAC on this chart It's showing you the number of drinks and the amount of time that transpires and how men burn out the alcohol quicker. And it's not on here, but something that is just something to know, keep in your brain. If your alcohol has bubbles in it, you will feel the effects and the blood or the alcohol will be in your system quicker. So for example, if you're having champagne, or if you're having a mixed drink with soda in it, or if you're having a beer, you're going to feel those effects quicker because of the bubbles. The bubbles speed up the process of alcohol in the body. Something to think about. So, not that any of you drink and drive, but if you know of somebody who does drink and drive, you want to share these important facts that it says if you injure or kill someone while drinking and driving, you spend 2 to 7 years in jail. It's $5,000 fine, or also it's or quite often somebody loses their driver's license for quite a number of years. And BAC, if somebody is over the age of 21, it's 0.08. But if it's a minor, if it's somebody, 18, 19, 20, 0.02. So they can have a little bit of alcohol in their system, not much. But if they're over 21, it's 0.08. That is the legal limit. And you can see over here on the chart, for a male, having 5 drinks in 4 hours, he's over the legal limit. He cannot drive because he's at 0.082. She, after 2 hours and 3 drinks, she cannot drive. She's over the legal limit, just at 2 hours and 3 drinks. She's at 0.088. She's over the legal limit. So you can see it's going to be different for males and females, how much they can consume and what the time frame is. So 0.08 is that time. And the only way to change your blood alcohol content is time. Your body has to process it to get it out of your system. It doesn't matter if you drink coffee. It doesn't matter if you eat a certain kind of food. Once alcohol is in your system, it's in. That's it. Only time can work the alcohol out. Now you can do preventative actions, which is drinking alcohol or drinking water, slowing down. So instead of just drinking all drinks, drink some water. You could also eat protein, eat a good meal. So thinking about those. Again, blood alcohol content. I'm just going to let you look at this really quick so you can see the fines that are associated with this, along with licenses. Police take this very seriously, called DUI, driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated. They're very expensive. You have court fees, you have fines. I'll let you just read through a couple more there. And know that in the state of Missouri, if you're coming back from somewhere or anywhere, you're driving at night, they have what are called sobriety stops. So the police can pull you over and you don't need to be driving poorly. They can just pull you over. It's a sobriety stop. And they'll say, all right, we want you to take a breathalyzer. We pulled you over. We think you're driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated. So here in the state of Missouri, you can say no. You can say, no, I don't want to take the breathalyzer. If you do, it's automatic driver's license suspension. So you don't have to take it. You will automatically lose your license. And that is in the state of Missouri. Different states have different laws. So be aware of that. So if they pull you over, if you haven't been drinking, go ahead, take the breathalyzer. If you have, you know, it depends how many drinks you've had, depends on what it's called, what you would blow when you're blowing into the device. It would depend on the level. Is it 0.02? Is it between there, 0.06, 0.08, or is it over the legal limit? So but again, if you refuse, it's automatic license suspension. You can't say, I wasn't drinking, I'm not taking it. They just take your license. And that is to protect people. So this one, chapter 11. Other penalties, it'll show you points. So you have what are called point systems. You have your driver's license and you already have your points. Your points are there. Your points are given. And as you incur a violation, they take the points away. Take the points away. So you can see, oh, some points or some violations are more points than others, right? You can see some are 3 points, some are 4 points, some are 12 points. So pretty serious. Obtaining a driver's license by misrepresentation, that means using a fake ID. If you got a fake ID, so a lot of times what happens is if a student, they go out drinking and they think, oh, I'm going to use my fake ID because I don't want them, like, I know I got caught drinking and driving, so I'm going to use my fake ID to give them my driver's license so I won't have my real driver's license points taken away. They're still going to figure it out because they have your car, whatever. It'll be 12 points. So, and it takes a while to get those points back. Let's see, should be another one. There it is. One more. I do not know why. Let's see. There it is. Okay. So for the points to come off your driving record, so the points will be reduced. You can see after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years. And I just realized I misspoke. Please kick it to me at the end, take a chance. Yes, we'll do, Karis. I see your message. Yep. I misspoke. I got it backwards. I said it backwards, that the points actually go on if you have an infraction. So you can see here that after 1 year, so you drive a year, clean record, no problems whatsoever. Then now, after a year, they take it to 1/3. So if it was, let's say you had a 12-point violation, now 1/3, now it's what? An 8-point violation. Or if it was just a 3-point violation, but now you still have 2 points on. So you can see it takes a while. It takes a full 3 years to have that record come off. So whatever point system was on there. My apologies, I told you backwards at the beginning. But you can see that the point is, it takes a while for you to have a clean driving record. Essentially, you have to drive safely for 3 years without any infractions. You no longer have it show up on your record. And not only is this on your record here for your driving record, but it also has a direct impact on your auto insurance. Because how many points you have, how many infractions you have, directly impact the cost of your insurance. So if you're a person that likes to speed a lot and you get speeding ticket after speeding ticket, the insurance company will look you up and they'll be like, oh, Jessica's a speed racer. Jessica she's like Mario Andretti, a race car driver. She's going to have to pay more money for her auto insurance, right? That's what'll happen. So if you have auto accidents, if you hit something, all of these tickets that are attributed to your driver's license, your auto insurance is going to look it up, and it's not something that you can hide. They look it up when you apply. So they will be able to know, and then the cost that you pay for your insurance is going to go up. Now, once you have your insurance, they check it like maybe once or twice a year. It depends on your company, but be aware. So it's something that will directly impact how much you pay for your insurance. So with that, I wanted to leave time for questions. I know I didn't hit every single thing, but what I did hit was the ones that I felt were most important that I wanted to emphasize for those chapters. And I know I felt like I rushed through those really quick 4 chapters in 50 minutes, but I wanted to leave time for questions. And then I know Karis has got a word or two for you. So time for questions. If you want me to go back to a topic, absolutely, I can do that. Or if there's something that you're like, you didn't really talk about that, what about, I can do that too. So let me know.
So I can just ask on behalf of everyone to talk about hydroplaning and how dangerous it might be for first-time drivers and even experienced drivers.
Yes. So hydroplaning, so that's really going to happen when there's a lot of water on the road. So if you notice, like when there's so much water that the drains on the street can't take it, there's water. And that happens when you're driving fast and then you go to hit your brake, or even not when you're hitting your brake, when you're driving fast. And what happens is you just start to lift off because the water is so prevalent. You just start to lift off and you're just floating on top of the water. One of the easiest things that you can do is take your car, if you're driving an automatic, take your car out of drive and put it into neutral. So that way the engine will stop putting the wheels forward and you can sink down. And again, tap your brakes. Don't just, because, anti-lock braking system, that might be a little scary, but I know our natural reaction is to just foot on the ground for the brakes, but tap your brakes to slow you down. You can put your vehicle in neutral and that will help you. So yeah, that's for hydroplaning. Does that answer the question, Jessica?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Are there specific areas in Missouri where we find this hydroplaning, or it happens everywhere?
Oh yeah, happens everywhere, wherever there's rain. Missouri is really interesting because we have all the weather. We have rain, we have snow, we have ice. Ice is super, super dangerous. Heavy rain is kind of scary as well. So the easiest thing to do when you're driving in any of those different kinds of weather is what? What do you think you as the driver could do when driving in any kind of fog, rain, snow, or ice? What would be the first thing that you could do?
Slow down.
Slow down. Yeah, slow down. And I like to think if pull over, if you've got pretty much most of our roads are 2 lanes, just get in the right lane and let the people in the left lane pass you by. That's the passing lane, right? Let them pass. And if you slow down, if everybody else is going 50 on Stadium, but you're like, you know what, I need to slow down to 40, 45 on Stadium. This fog is making me a little nervous. That's okay. Slow down to 40, 45. Slow down to the speed that you feel comfortable with, that for the fog that you have the visibility, and for the snow or the ice that you feel comfortable driving in that. You slow down to whatever the conditions warrant. So you don't go the speed limit during weather conditions. You slow down to whatever the conditions warrant. And if people want to pass you by, some people got the trucks, they feel comfortable, let them go. Let them go by you. Other questions?
Thank you very much. I will stop the recording now. Carrie,
Okay.
you may